right, this is the second lesson of chapter 4, solving two-step equations. And it starts off by saying, what is the goal when solving equations? I think I mentioned it yesterday, but I'm going to mention it again today. The goal in solving equations is to get the variable by itself using inverse operations. Remember, our goal is to get that variable all by itself. We call it isolating the variable. We want it isolated. We want it all by itself. And the only way we can do that is by using inverse operations. What are the steps for solving equations? So first, we're going to combine like terms if possible. Sometimes there aren't any like terms to combine, so we can skip that step, but sometimes we need to make sure we can combine our like terms. Then just like yesterday, drop your line from the equal sign. The first thing you want to work with after that is to get rid of what is not with the variable. So the term that does not have the variable with it, that does not have the that is the coefficient, that's somewhere you want to work away from first. Be careful when there is a negative in front of the variable. And we talked about that yesterday, about how if there is a negative in front of the variable in my answer, then I just take the opposite of both the variable and my number answer. So we're just going to do 6 problems together, and then tomorrow we're going to do a bunch of examples in class on our whiteboards. So I have 3x plus 4 equals 13. So the first thing I do is I look on either side of the equal sign, and I see if there's any like terms that I can combine. So if I look at this side, nope, nothing I can combine. I look at this side, nope, that's by itself. So in this one, there's no like terms, so I'm going to drop my line, and then it says get rid of what is not with the variable first. So here's my variable, which means I want to get rid of this plus 4, positive 4 first. And the opposite of plus 4 or positive 4 is minus 4 or negative 4. So that'll make this disappear. So I'm left with 3x equals, and then 13 minus 4 is 9. Right, so there's one step, but remember these are 2-step equations. Here comes our second step. Now I need to get the x by itself. So 3 right next to an x, that means multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to get x all by itself on that side, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. I find out that x equals 3. All right, let's try it again. So combine like terms first. I look at this side of the equal sign, nothing there. I look on this side of the equal sign, nothing there. So I'm going to drop my line, and I'm going to start to solve. Now, don't let it confuse you because the 18 is by itself first. It doesn't change anything. Okay, so when I look at this, I'm going to work away from the variable first. So here's my variable. I don't want to mess with this yet. I want to do the negative 6 or the minus 6. And to get rid of that, I'm going to add 6. So I'm left with negative 3x on this side, and then 18 plus 6, that's 24. So there's my first step. Now my second step is to get that negative 3 and x apart, and when they're right next to each other, that means multiplication, and the opposite of multiplication we know is division. I'm going to say x equals 24 divided by 3 is 8, and a positive divided by a negative is a negative, so x equals negative 8. That's my answer. Okay, let's give it another try. Now I have one with decimals, so I'm going to look. Is there anything I can simplify here? Yes, there is. I see an x, and I see a negative 1/2 x. Those can be simplified, so I need to do that first. So I have 1 minus 1/2. So my signs are different, so I'm going to subtract. And 1, remember this is a 1 in front of here, minus 1/2. It's going to give me 0 and 5/10. And then the 1 is positive, so it's a positive 0 and 5/10 x. Now, did I combine this part with anything? No, so I'm just going to bring it down. And then I look on this side of the equal sign, and there's nothing to combine, so I'm just going to rewrite it. Right, so I did my combined like terms. I'm going to drop my line from the equal sign. Here's my variable, so I know I need to deal with this part first. So I see a plus 1.5 or a positive 1.5, which means I need to subtract 1.5 or do a negative 1.5. Right, I'm left with 0.5x on this side. And over here, my signs are different, so I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. 4.5 is bigger than 1.5, so it's going to be a positive 3. All right, my last thing I need to do is get the variable by itself. So they're being multiplied right now, and I know the opposite of multiplication is division. So any number divided by itself is 1, so 1x. And then I have 3 divided by 0.05, or 0.5. So I have 3 divided by a half. Move my decimal. I have a decimal here, though I don't see it. Move my decimal and add a 0. So 5 doesn't go into 3, but 5 does go into 36 times, and it goes in evenly. So I know x would equal 6. All right, let's try again. Look on this side of the equal sign, nothing to combine. I look on this side of the equal sign, nothing to combine. So I drop my line and I start to solve, working away from the variable first. So here's my variable. I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to look at this 10. It's a positive 10. The opposite of positive 10 is negative 10. So I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. That will cancel each other out. So I'm left with negative 3x over here. Then over here, my signs are the same. So my signs are the same. I'm going to add them and keep their signs. So I have negative 27. All right, now I need to get the negative 3 and x apart. When they're next to each other, that means multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication we know is division. So any number divided by itself is 1, but we don't write 1x, we just write x, which is what we want. We isolated the variable. And then 27 divided by 3 is 9, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so my answer is positive 9. Let's try 2 more. So here's one with fractions. I'll cover this up for a second. Are there any like terms here that I can combine? Sure. I see 1/5 y and a positive 2/5 y. And this one's really nice because I know to add fractions I need a common denominator, and they already gave me one. So 1/5 plus 2/5 I know is 3/5 y. I couldn't do anything with the plus 4, so I'm just going to bring it down. Equals, and then I look at this side of the equal sign. It's just the number 19. So I combined my like terms. Now I'm going to drop my line and solve away from the variable. So here's my variable, so I need to focus on this first. I see plus 4 or positive 4, and the opposite of positive 4 or plus 4 is negative 4. So I'm left with 3/5 y on this side equals 19 minus 4. My signs are different, so I'm going to subtract and take the sign of the larger number. So 3/5 y equals 15. I'm not done yet because my variable is not isolated, so we need to do that. So the 3/5 and the y are right next to each other, which means multiplication. And the opposite of multiplication I know is division. So I'm going to say divide by 3/5. Divide by 3/5. Any number divided by itself is 1, and 1y we would just write as y. And remember, when we have problems, we read them going down. So this is saying 15 divided by 3/5. When I divide fractions, I know I need to keep, change, and opposite them. Here's one where I can simplify before I multiply. So I'm going to do that. And then 5 times 5 gives me 25. So my answer is y equals 25. Last one. Okay, I look. Can I combine those terms? No, I cannot. Is there anything over here to combine? Nope. So I'm going to drop my line and begin to solve. Here's my variable. So I want to do the 4 and 5/10 first. It's positive, and the opposite of a positive is a negative. So I'm going to subtract 4 and 5/10. This would cancel each other out, leaving me 2/10 p on that side. And then I can subtract. I'm going to borrow. 11 minus 5 is 6. 5 minus 4 is 1. I bring my decimal point straight down. 6 and 1/10 is positive, and it's larger, so my answer is positive 1 and 6/10. Now I need to isolate that variable. I need to get the p by itself. So I see right now that 2/10 is being multiplied by p, and the opposite of multiplication is division. So I need to divide by 2/10. So anytime you divide by itself, it's 1. So 1p is the same thing as p. And then over here, I see 1 and 6/10 divided by 2/10. Move my decimal. Move my decimal. Oh, it's really 16 divided by 2. I can do that in my head. I know that's 8. So I figure out that p equals 8. Oh, and then you should always check your sign. I forgot to do that. A positive divided by a positive is a positive. So yes, p is equal to 8. So this is what we're going to work on tomorrow. Make sure these notes are filled out, and then we will practice tomorrow in class. See you then.